Management Review, Clause 9.3 of the ISO 14001-2015. Hello friends, I welcome you all here at TNB Academy. In this chapter, we are going to explain you the Clause 9.3 of the ISO 14001-2015, which addresses the requirement of management review meeting conducted to review the organization's environmental management system. This clause requires that minimum one management review meeting shall be conducted once in a year. This meeting shall be scheduled at planned intervals of times in every year. Top management shall be the members and they shall review the all matters of the organization, including the environmental management system, to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. Now, let's know what can be reference clause within the standards which is useful for this chapter. We can refer the meaning defined in clause 3 of the ISO 14001-2015, which would be helpful to understand the terms used under this clause 9.3. Now, let's know the external references for this chapter. Under external references, you may study the ISO 14004-2016 and ISO 14005-2019. These standards are the family standards of the ISO 14001-2015. Further, the candidates may also refer the ISO 19011-2018 and ISO 17021-1. These are useful external materials to understand this chapter. Now, let's explain you the outcomes which you will gain through training of this chapter. In simple words, we can say that after completion of this training video, you will have the idea of management review meeting. At the end of this chapter, you will gain the following. You will understand the scheduling of management review meeting. You will learn the management review inputs, that is, the agenda of the review meeting. You will understand the outcomes, that is, minutes of the review meeting. You will understand the management review process and how it is done as per the clause 9.3 of the ISO 14001-2015. In reference to this standard, you will learn how environmental management system is reviewed and improved actions are fixed as per the outcomes of the review meeting. Now, we are going to give you a brief introduction of the clause 9.3. What is a management review for ISO 14001? The top management team must periodically review the environmental management system (EMS) to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. The frequency or intervals of the top management formal review must be defined in the EMS. The management review must address the possible need for changes to policy, objectives, targets, and other elements of the EMS. The company's senior managers should regularly review the EMS for effectiveness. Usually, the reviews are recorded so that external auditors can see the management is kept up to date with the result of monitoring. Next, we should know why perform management reviews meeting. Point 1. Determine and evaluate environmental management system (EMS) performance. Point 2. Determine the need for change and improvement, recommendations for improvement. Point 3. Determine the suitability of the policies and the objectives. ISO standards state the frequency or intervals of reviews must be defined in the EMS by the management team. The frequency of management reviews might be quarterly, 6-monthly, or annually. You may decide to have stand-alone management reviews or combine it with other business activities. For example, strategic planning, business planning, operations meetings or functional reviews. We would understand the matters which should be reviewed in the management review meeting. Customer feedback, audit findings, and audit results, as well as internal and external issues, should be discussed by the management team. Processes performance, EMS objectives, preventive actions, recommendations for improvement, and their potential effect on the strategic direction of the organization. The management review meetings must address the possible need for changes to policy, objectives, targets, and other elements of the EMS. The management review process must ensure that the necessary information is collected ahead of time to allow management to effectively carry out this evaluation. Now, let's know the requirement of the clause as explained in Standard. 9.3 Management Review. Top management shall review the organization's environmental management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. The management review shall include consideration of point 1. The status of actions from previous management reviews. Point 2. Changes in first, external and internal issues that are relevant to the environmental management system. Second, the needs and expectations of interested parties, including compliance obligation. Third, its significant environmental aspects. Fourth, risks and opportunities. Point 3. The extent to which environmental objectives have been achieved. Point 4. Information on the organization's environmental performance, including trends in first, non-conformities and corrective actions. Second, monitoring and measurement results. Third, fulfillment of its compliance obligations. Fourth, audit results. Point 5. Adequacy of resources. Point 6. Relevant communication from interested parties, including complaints. Point 7. Opportunities for continual improvement. Now, the outputs of the management review shall include the following. Point 1. Conclusions on the continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the environmental management system. Point 2. Decisions related to continual improvement opportunities. Point 3. Decisions related to any need of changes to the environmental management system, including resources. Point 4. Actions, if needed, when environmental objectives have not been achieved. Point 5. Opportunities to improve integration of the environmental management system with other business processes, if needed. Point 7. Any implications for the strategic direction of the organization. The organization shall retain documented information as evidence of the results of management reviews. Now, let's understand the mandatory documents and records to be maintained under this clause. Under this clause, the organization has to maintain one mandatory record as follows. Document 1. Results of the management review. Clause 9.3. The organization may also maintain the below mentioned records, but this is not mandatory. Document 1. Procedure for management review. Clause 9.3. Now, we will explain how to write non-conformity under this clause. If you understood the requirements of this clause and subclause which must be implemented in an organization, then you can verify the implementation of the same, and findings can be raised and will be categorized as non-conformity. You may categorize it minor or major by analyzing the impacts of findings. To better understand the writing of findings, kindly refer the AFAR sample format through this slide. Now, let me talk in brief about the common mistakes auditor do while auditing. It is highly recommended that being an auditor, you should avoid some common mistakes like reporting of findings without verifying the evidence, ignoring the facts, asking irrelevant questions to the organization which are not applicable, and start consulting activities with the client, etc. Auditors should avoid these kind of mistakes which are very common in nature during the audits. Dear friends, we have now come to the conclusion of this training session. See you soon with an exciting new topic. Till then, goodbye.